Welcome to your safe space, the podcast your partner, friends, parents, whoever thinks is dirty. Don't have time to read books? Want to understand all the jokes in the TikToks? We got you, fam. We're the Spice Traders, and we deal in spicy books. I'm Katie, and I need it to make sense.
I'm Liz, and I'm hypercritical.
Before we get to today's episode, we want to encourage you to check out our Patreon, where we publish extra episodes every other week, as well as ad-free versions of our regular feed episodes. Also, any series we read past the first book, all that coverage is Patreon only, so think series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, Guild. Anyway, we really appreciate the support and encouragement to continue doing something we love and sharing it with you.
Thanks in advance for checking that out. As always, we start this episode with 3 things. First is a generic trigger warning. You can find specific triggers for this book in our show notes, so please check those out. We also use foul language and talk a lot about sex. If you have sensitivity to either of those things, our podcast probably isn't for you.
Second, our episodes talk about books, the whole book, nothing but the book, so help me goddess. If you don't want something spoiled, don't listen to this episode.
And finally, we acknowledge that a good book can hit you at the wrong time. Our views discussed in our episodes are our opinion, and we don't want to diminish the work or the talents of the authors in our community. That said, we have some notes. Talking about today?
Today we are talking about part 2 of Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. Not quite a blank.
I wish it was Cloud and Bones.
Yeah,
I think
singular.
Cloud and Bone. It's not a blank, which I'm so mad we didn't call it out on a Queen of Myth and Monsters.
We're so out of touch. We've lost it. I don't know what we were thinking. It didn't even occur to me. And I think you said this, when we were texting, you were like, I think maybe we're just desensitized to it. I think that's it.
I think that's it too, because it only occurred to me when I was making TikTok posts and I had to type it out. And I was like,
God damn it.
Well, I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I'm disappointed. I'm sure that book 3 will be similarly named a blank. So hopefully.
If book 3 exists, I messaged Scarlett St. Clair. She's super active on Instagram. She hasn't answered yet. I messaged her and I tried to message her through her website, but I kept getting an error message when I was saying that. It was super dumb because there was it's one of those prove you're not a robot things.
Yeah.
And it literally says 5 plus 3. So I put in the correct number and then it gives you an error. It's must be 1. I'm like, but that's not 1.
That's not the answer. It's 8. Can I put
it's 8
ones?
And but it would only let me put in 1. And I'm like, and then I would get an error. It was system error. And I was like, oh,
yeah, because it's not the answer. Damn it.
Yeah. And but it wouldn't accept 8. It was very strange.
Well, I'm looking forward to see if she comes back. But anyway, back to this book.
Anyway. Back to Amid Clouds and Bones.
Amid Clouds and Bones. Plural clouds, plural bones, blones. Wow. It's kind of a rough day for my mouth today. Sorry about that. Mouth sounds. So, yeah, this is part 2 of 2. We're going to be covering chapters 19 plus. And then at the end of this, we'll do our ratings of the book. And we talked about this in our debrief, but it's been a minute since I finished this book and I've already started the next book, which is wildly different. So I'm desperately trying to crawl my way back into the headspace that this book had me in.
I know. I've already finished the next book, which has never happened before. And it's only because we're recording tomorrow. I gotta tell you, I don't.
Yeah.
The middle chunk here, it'll come back to us.
It'll come back. So when we last left our heroine, Mildred, which I know is your favorite name, she was essentially in enemy territory, right? And so this whole prophecy thing is this king of the Bone Lands, Vane, wants her to fall in love with him because that will break this spell that's on his land. So the spell being the kind of physical witchy barrier that's entrapping people in their homeland. She has decided to finally give this a shot. And so she said, you're going to take me on a picnic. And so they go. We get this pre-departure scene of Dahlia and Mildred in the kitchen, and it's like Dahlia's never been in a kitchen before because she's putting together a sandwich in a way that makes negative amounts of sense.
This scene made Dahlia feel very Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah.
There's just like chunks of cheese and like the sandwich doesn't make sense. But there's like too much focus on her like cutting cheese.
Right. Well, and like maybe this is a me problem, but the way that Mildred was like watching Dahlia and she was commenting, she's like, there's too much cheese and there's too much butter. I'm like, I've never met a sandwich that has too much of either of those things.
I know. And the only thing that I was trying to think about is that, like, what kind of sandwich is this? Because if it's like a cold ham sandwich, I don't really want a lot of butter on that. But if it's like a grilled cheese.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's like the French kind where it's like soft butter and like really good ham, like I'll take that as a cold sandwich.
Yeah.
But
that
like,
sounds great.
The only way that I could picture this being like bad is if it's literally like a chunk of cheese with like squash in bread. Like not good.
Yeah, or like cubes of cheese and cubes of cold butter.
Right. Oh, God. That's terrible. But it also doesn't make sense to me because it's like Dahlia is trying to do this. There are literally people who work in the kitchen. I don't know why Dahlia is doing it. I also don't know if she's never seen a sandwich before in her life, but it's not that hard to figure out. So like this was just a weird scene.
It is a weird scene. And I just want to call out, you mentioned this in part one, there's some things that just, I mean, my ratings are going to be pretty good for this book, but there's some things that just like don't quite make sense. And this scene is one of them. Like Dahlia is doing this nice thing, but she's also kind of being like abrasive to Mildred. There's like this weird tension there that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, it's very clear that like Dahlia and like other people are like really hoping this love blossoms, right? So that they can get out of the situation. And so like Dahlia is trying to encourage her to do that in like a high stakes way, which I think is where that tone comes from, right? Like it makes sense for the characters, but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's almost like she's threatening Mildred. And I'm like,
okay. Interestingly, in this conversation, Dahlia gives some more context on Marona, who is the woman who was sitting next to Vane at dinner. Apparently, they've known each other for decades. Marona is enamored of Vane, but he, quote, believes it a waste to invest all of his heart in someone when he might one day be forced to sever ties. Essentially, like, he's waiting for somebody to be gifted to him as a mate, which is, like, when you put it like that, gross.
It's super gross, especially because I thought mates were pretty rare. So the way that he phrases this is pretty gross.
Right, exactly.
Or she phrases it, I mean.
It's also a weird thing to say to Mildred, who's like supposedly supposed to fall in love with this person, who's also holding, like, saving himself for a mate that the gods haven't delivered yet. Like, which is it? Do we think that you guys are supposed to be mated? Like, what is happening here, actually?
Yeah, I don't know.
So going back to Dahlia's weird tone, she says flat out, quote, some think you don't care to even try to break this curse. And Mildred admits that she's like, I don't. Like, why would I care?
It's not my problem.
It's not my problem. Yeah. Which I appreciated that she said. And Dahlia is like almost offended by this.
I was like, girl, I just met all of you. Like, I'm not invested in this.
Also, your problems are not my problems. Like, sorry.
No. I fully have a fiance that, like, I'm actually pretty into.
Right. So the picnic itself is probably the most charming and disarming that Vane's been. Like, he definitely presents as much more of a person, whereas before he's been kind of like this brooding, bureaucratic person. Like, it's very clear that he's a ruler when they've been interacting before, but this gets closer to him being a person, which I think was really masterfully done, because even in the moment I was like not sure if this is a manipulation or not.
I know, it was really well executed.
Mm-hmm. As they go to the picnic spot and as they're in the picnic spot, this is an opportunity for Mildred to see the Bone Lands, like, firsthand ever. And she realizes that rather than being dry and dusty like its name might imply, it's actually lush and, like, very green and verdant here. It's almost described as being jungle-like, which I thought was an interesting, like, place to call the Bone Lands.
I know.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And I like that they have the vibe of what the Bonelands are supposed to be to everyone else. Like, there's a blood river and it's dark and spooky. And it's like, no, it's actually really nice. It's a nice
really
place.
fine. Like, it's, you know, a jungle. That's it.
Yeah.
As they're picnicking, they talk about the mountains that surround this land. That's part of the reason why Vane has never been super concerned about being invaded, because the mountains are really hard to cross, despite the fact, like, in addition to that magical barrier. But he also shares that Pytherians, Pytherians? What did you say?
I read it as Pytherians.
Pytherians? Okay.
I don't know if that's right, but that's how I read it. Pytherians.
English is stupid. Say it again.
Pytherians?
Pytherians. Okay. Like, psyching myself up. Pytherians.
Pythons.
Pytherians.
Yeah, there you go.
So Pytherians are basically dragons with like a snake body. And there's a lot of them. They're bonded to the Ashbone bloodline, which is Vane's bloodline. And his wings are kind of the evidence for that, because his family line even once shifted into Pytherians as a part of their magic. Mildred is intrigued by these, and so she asks to go see the Pytherians. And Vane surprisingly is like, sure, great. When do you want to go? And she's
Let's
like,
go.
tomorrow? Yeah. And he's like, okay, great, let's go.
Like, I was also surprised by him being like, sure.
Yeah, sure. He does kind of hesitate because he has plans that he can move, and he says that. But this prompts Mildred to think about like all of the ways that she's kind of being shoehorned into Vane's life. And she thinks about specifically Morona and asks if Vane fucked her when she visited last. Like, she literally says, quote,
fair question.
Did you intend to fuck your friend during her visit?
Because, like, we're on a date and I just want to know.
Right. So Vane kind of circumvents this question altogether. He doesn't answer it specifically. He just gives her more information about Morona. He says that she's more than like a special friend. She's a spy who shapeshifts into insects, and they're preparing for war. And so she's got a lot of good information to give him. And so that's why he spends time with her. And I'm like, that is unanswered. That's not, it's an answer to a different question.
Yeah, that's an answer to a question I didn't ask.
Correct. They go on to talk about Vane's mother, Callista. So Callista, remember, is the queen that started this whole war. She's the Helen of Troy. Well, I mean, that's victim blaming a little bit. It's the Menses in the story who can't, like, rein it in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But listen.
Vane says that his father loved Callista, quote, instantly and madly. And he uses that to kind of justify why his father did what he did. And he also shares that when Vork's, his father, was killed, his corpse turned up with his heart missing and the cavity packed with someone else's innards, which is really gross.
Yeah, that seemed unnecessary to be that gross.
Right. So then they've been having a nice time on this picnic, and Vane asks to kiss Mildred. And Mildred's like, sure. And he's taking his time about it and being really sweet, and she's not really into that. And she can't really decide if it's because she doesn't like it and she prefers the way that Attican treats her, or if she's just unfamiliar with, like, tender affection. And so she climbs into his lap and is like, are you going to kiss me properly or not? And because of that, Vane correctly surmises that Attican did not treat her kindly. That's his words. And Mildred doesn't deny it. She also doesn't, like, defend Attican, and Vane surmises that Mildred liked that treatment.
I mean, yeah, she did.
Right. So he does end up kissing her and kisses her harder, draws blood, which Mildred describes as, quote, sweetness veiled in brutality, which is exactly what she likes, but she can't help but admit, even inwardly, that it feels different, right? She's still thinking about Attican when she's with Vane.
I wonder why that is.
Huh? So the next day, they go to the Skeleton Mountains and they visit the Pytherians. Pythagorean
theorems.
And we get
They do sexy math.
They do sexy math. They do Pytherians, and they do it naked. No, I wish that was what they were doing. They
I know, right?
So they go to the mountains. There's this like military base up there, and Mildred's kind of like, why are you showing me the military base? And she realizes it's because Vane is fully like convinced that he's gonna make her fall in love, and she's not gonna be a threat. And she's like, okay, that's a little cocky.
Which is a wild choice, my guy.
Such a wild choice. And also like everybody around him sees it as a wild choice. Like they show up and a commander is like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
why would you bring her here and tell her our whole plan?
She's literally betrothed to your enemy's son.
Idiot.
So they go through this facility and we get to see the Ptherians, specifically the like alpha female. I was like, what is the opposite of male? The alpha male. No, it's a woman, but it's not a human. Anyway, they see the alpha female, Sorella, who is apparently like bonded to Vane. She's huge. She comes right up close to both of them. Mildred is fucking terrified and also in awe. And she realizes that like if this barrier falls and these things invade the Seelie court, like they're fucked.
Yeah, so it's not so much that we need the barrier to fall, that way we can be free, but we need the barrier to fall to fuck up the Seelie court.
Right, exactly. And this prompts Mildred to tell him flat out. She's like, look, you're breeding this army for no reason. And the reason that she says that is because Anakin doesn't have a heart. She's like, he's not in love with me. Like, there's no heart to steal. Even if I fall in love with you, I'm not going to be able to give you what you want. But interestingly, Vane says, quote, my sources have told a very different story.
It does make me wonder what Anakin is doing this whole time she's missing. Because we learn later, but like, he's not just sitting at home being like, well, that was fun for a while.
Yeah, that was fun while it lasted. I guess I'll go back to being my fuckboy self. Like, that's not what's happening. And I feel like this book delivered what he was doing while this was happening really subtly, and I wanted it to be a little bit more of a hard landing.
Yeah, it was almost too subtle, and I think that leads to this book ends, and I just felt like it was kind of anticlimactic.
Right.
Like, stuff happens, but then it's like, it's over, and it's fine.
Right. We don't really get, like, a big... I mean, they talk about it a lot, but the reunion between the two of them just feels like it's a little bit understated.
Yes.
Anyway, before Mildred can process that information, Serwyn arrives, and he clearly has bad news, but Vane ends up delivering the news himself and tells her, quote, your father and stepmother have been murdered. He goes on to say that a sword bearing Ethermore's crest has been left in the carriage roof, like a statement, a very clear statement to make it look like Garen's doing, Garen being Anakin's father. And Mildred just kind of takes this at face value, but this felt to me like in the Anastasia book when they were like, you definitely killed this person, so live with that. That's absolutely fact. Don't ask a question or a follow-up. I was like, whoa.
I was like, I feel like we should ask a follow-up, personally.
I personally feel like we should ask a follow-up question.
Yeah.
But they don't. Not yet. Mildred is obviously wrecked. I mean, there's no love lost for her stepmother, but her father and her were really close. And she realizes now that she's never going to get to interact with him ever again. So 3 days of numbness follow. It's a good depiction of grief. It's just a little bit like, I don't know how her grief was different from her days before the grief.
Because she just still sits around alone.
Right.
She just doesn't read books. She's like catatonic almost, just like staring out the window.
I know. And it's like, I don't know. Everybody deals with grief differently, but like this is not materially different from who you are outside of grief. So I'd like,
no.
Okay.
The only thing that I thought was kind of cute is that Vane like brings her dinner every day and like sits with her even though she doesn't eat and like doesn't make her talk or anything. So like you kind of see those like, relationship forming.
Yeah, it's very clear that like Vane, and then Dahlia is also described as like bringing her breakfast, I think, but like there is definitely care being performed here, which is something that she has not experienced before, really.
Yeah, well, oof.
Yeah, woof. So after a couple of days, Vane's like, okay, you've been grieving enough. We need to get out of the house. So come with me to Lord Stone's hideout. And this is like in the capital city. So they go there ostensibly for dinner and to like meet up. I'm like, why didn't he just come to you, girl? Like, this isn't, I don't know why they went there.
I don't know why they went there either. Just to like change the scenery, which I appreciate that we're not in a black box, but like there's no reason to go there.
Yeah, there's no reason to go there.
It's like, Vane, you're the king. Make people come to you.
Right. Like if there was something that like they had a mood board, or like there was something they were building here that like Vane had to see, but it's literally just an empty like apartment, shabby apartment that's spelled, I guess, so nobody can like listen in. It was very strange.
Yeah.
So they go on to have a conversation about their plans for eventually invading the Seelie realm, and they have no problem discussing this in front of Mildred, and Mildred correctly reads that as them assuming she'll never leave the realm, which she's just like, awesome. I love that for me.
Which, I mean, I guess that's kind of fair because she used her feather boa. Like, how would she leave unless Vane took her out?
Yeah. I mean, so they kind of bury the lead here a little bit, and like, we'll get to it pretty quickly, but Lord Stone, because he's nobility, can actually, I guess, teleport. I forget what they call it here, but he can teleport in and out of the wards.
Yeah.
So, like, he's an option for her to get out. Vane can technically teleport out of the wards because she asks, like, if she can go to the funeral, like, for her parents. And he's like, I can't do that. I'm sorry. You know I can't let you do that.
I can't let you leave. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're my war prisoner.
Right. I don't remember. Oh, it's germane to her never leaving. I think it's also interesting that, like, because Vane is so convinced that like she'll fall in love with him, that everybody else is like, yeah, she's like halfway there. Like, you're good.
Which, like, they've been on one date and they kissed once. Like, everyone needs to calm down, Vane included.
But it is interesting in this because they talk about how the wards have started to crack. So, like, it is implied that like her softening towards Vane and like the kiss and things like that are working.
Yeah. Well, and again, I wish we landed more about like what Anakin was doing, because if he did love her, her going missing is enough to break his heart, right? Like, the rules of that magic are a little vague, and like we get more answers, kind of, but it is working from what it appears.
Right. Exactly.
And she definitely likes Vane. She's not opposed to him.
She does, and we'll see soon how much she was almost in like with him. So they're at dinner, they're talking about their plans, and they divulge in front of Mildred that part of their plan has had them place Pytherian eggs around Cloud Castle and the capital city. They do this because, quote, Pytherians breathe fire when enraged. And so they're essentially using these eggs as bait so that when the walls come down, the Pytherians will storm the city, set it on fire, trying to find their young, which have been effectively stolen. Then the conversation takes a really weird turn because Morona brings up Anakin, and she says that she's heard rumors that he's a, quote, positively beastly lover. And Mildred, I mean, good on her. She takes it in stride. She reveals that, yeah, I mean, he's kind of the worst, but so am I. Like, I poisoned him, so, like, there's that.
I love how much she takes things in stride. But this comment now, knowing the end of the book, like, does everyone just know about Anakin? What do you mean by beastly?
Yeah, and I feel like that's just, like, her, like, giving in to just baseless rumors, because like, yeah, there's when her parents died, they talked about how they were essentially butchered, and like that was like supposedly a signature calling card of Anakin, so he has a reputation of being really upsetting.
Horrendous.
Yeah,
he has no heart.
Right, so I feel like Morona's just trying to like embarrass Mildred, because Mildred and Vane are like basically on top of each other at this dinner.
Seriously. She's almost in his lap.
Mm-hmm. But when she reveals this thing about like poisoning Anakin, everybody around the table is just like, get it, girl. And she's never had such open approval before. And she feels warm, right? Like she's starting to come out of her grief a little bit, and she's like looking around the table and starting to maybe picture herself in this life, in this group, like as one of them. But we'll quickly find that warmth is a trap. So after this conversation, Vane takes her downstairs to the first floor of the apartment. They dance to no music, a la Harry Potter when they're dancing in the tent, kind of oddly, awkwardly.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah. And as they dance, Vane tells her, quote, "When you laugh, I remember what joy feels like. I want you. I didn't think I would, but I do." Oh. And they get a little bit hot and heavy. They start making out, but Vane realizes that they will be overheard and is like, okay, we should table this conversation until we have more privacy. And Mildred's like, cool, I'm going to take a nap. So she takes a nap downstairs. But
which is also fucking weird, but like, and go home.
Go home, but also like, why are you still here? Like,
yeah, like the dinner's over.
The dinner's over. Go home. Like, if she's tired, send her home. You can literally like teleport her home and then teleport her back. I don't know why this situation was allowed to happen.
It was weird and it didn't make sense. As soon as she goes to take a nap, I had the same thought. I was like, why are you even still here? Like, you can leave now and have more privacy.
Yeah. But anyway, we have to hear this. We're here because we have to overhear this conversation. So Mildred sleeps for some amount of time. She's not sure what. She wakes up and she hears the voices and she starts eavesdropping her eaves. They don't know that she's awake. She doesn't know what they're talking about, but it becomes super clear. It turns out that rather than Attican or Garen killing her parents, Vane killed her parents. Specifically, he killed her parents to make it look like Garen and or Attican did it so that the alliance would collapse that Mildred was sold to create, right? So that this military alliance between her kingdom and Attican's kingdom would no longer be.
Oops.
The coldest part about this conversation is that it's clear that everybody around the table is in on it, including Morona. She says, ugh, quote, "I like her tenacity and unfitting innocence, but this has taken too long." And it's clear that Vane and her are still at least more in partnership than he and Mildred are, because he says something to the effect like, "I told you I would do whatever it takes to like do this thing." And they're all like, "Yeah, good, attaboy," essentially.
Ew.
Yeah. So she's freaking out. Mildred's freaking out. She's overhearing that this person that she was almost in love with, right? Like she was starting to tip over to being in like, at least, if not in love with Vane, is really just playing her like a fiddle. I thought that this scene of betrayal was so well done. And I gotta be honest, I did not see it coming.
I didn't see it coming either. I felt like everything was set up like pretty like almost cookie cutter of like, okay, cool, I know where this is going. And then this happened. And honestly, the whole rest of the book really did take me by surprise.
Yeah, honestly. Because I mean, I liked it. It was way more intricate than I thought that it was going to be. But like up until she overhears this conversation, I was still thinking like somehow we're going to get to a white shoes, right?
Yes, that's what I thought too. But no, alas.
Mm-hmm. So the grief of being betrayed by somebody like Vane, who was honestly one of the first people who showed her warmth and tenderness, really hits Mildred hard, and she starts freaking out. She starts almost wanting to escape right then and there. But Lord Stone comes downstairs ostensibly to check on her. It's not like she's making noise or anything like that. And he sees that she's awake and that she's heard what they've been talking about. And he essentially says, quote, "If you wish to survive, you need to never so much as think about what you've evidently heard." So he covers for her, tells her to calm down, goes back upstairs, says that she's still sleeping. And it's here that she, Mildred, and we realize that Lord Stone isn't Vane's spy. He's a double spy, still spying for Ethermore / Attican / Garen.
Which was also a fun twist. Because honestly, like, this isn't explicitly stated, but I wonder if this whole thing was orchestrated. It feels like this whole thing was orchestrated for Mildred to overhear this. That way Stone could like kind of establish who he is. Mm-hmm. Because again, it's too convenient that they would even talk about this while she's like in the same small building with them.
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Yeah, I mean, it does feel like Stone may have orchestrated that so that he's not the only one who has to potentially relay information to Attican about what might be happening.
Yeah.
I do wish that Lord Stone, as like a turncoat or like a double spy. What's it called? Double spy?
A double agent.
Double agent. Thank you. It's like really not good with my words today. Lord Stone as a double agent, I feel like could have been used a little bit more sharply. But like this is about where his trajectory ends.
Yeah, we really don't want to interact with him much at all after this.
Yeah, we like find out that like he's a double agent, and then we're just like, okay, cool, moving on. Cool.
Yeah. He served his purpose. He's just a foil.
Oh, right, yeah. So Mildred pretends to be asleep. At some point, Vane comes downstairs and he does carry her. She pretends to still be asleep, and they go back to the palace. So she kind of lets him seduce her a little bit because she knows that if she like hard says no, that he's going to know that she knows something is off, and she doesn't want to give up the game, right? Like if that happens, she knows that she's dead. So instead, she lets herself feel the grief, right? The grief of being betrayed by Vane, but also the grief of her parents overcome her. And she just falls to pieces in his arms, and she blames it on the wine. She's like, I've just had too much to drink. I'm so sorry. We'll just go to bed. And Vane's like, clearly a little bit disappointed that he's not going to get nookie, but is like, yeah, you're right. We'll let you go to sleep. That's fine.
He like tucks her in and leaves her.
Right. What's interesting about this is that as Mildred goes to sleep, Vane is holding her. And as this is happening, as she's kind of in that spot between like being awake and being asleep, she hears Attican's voice, like clear as day in her head, saying, quote, "Does that feel good, Dread? Or does it only feel good when you think of me?"
So I don't know if this was the first time he called her Dread, but this is the first time I clocked it, and I was like, okay, Mildred's a fine name. We're gonna use Dread as a nickname.
That's really the only reason I didn't totally hate Mildred. I mean, a name is a name. It's just not one of my favorites, but I really like the Dread nickname.
Me too. I was like, oh, okay, all right.
I see what you did there. So in the following days, Mildred tries to get space from Vane, which ends up not being too difficult because he ends up going to the border quite often to do some scouting trips. Because he's one of the only people who can cross the barrier, he like needs to do that a lot for his people, which is great. She tries to weasel her way into one of these trips, but Vane consistently is always like, no. She's trying to get there because she wants to get to one of the cracks and like get the fuck out of here. Vane, for whatever, he doesn't suspect that, but he's just like, no, there's no way you're getting close to the border. No way.
No way.
So
too dangerous.
Too dangerous. So while she's alone, Mildred goes looking for the featherbone. She's not convinced that what Vane said is true and that it's completely useless, but she still can't find it anywhere. One day, when she's in the library, she gets ambushed by Dahlia, who's fishing for information about Stone. It's clear to Mildred that Dahlia suspects that Stone isn't completely being forthright with her, but she doesn't have any proof, and so she's essentially trying to recruit Mildred into helping her figure out like what Stone's deal is. And Mildred just plays I'm just an empty-headed little wine-obsessed girl. Like I can't help you at all.
I know nothing.
He
seems fine to me.
Dahlia then says this weird thing where she says, quote, "You're a survivor, Mildred, a wolf too accustomed to hunting alone to trust in any pack." And I thought this was a weird thing to say because it's clear that like Dahlia knows, or I guess Dahlia wasn't technically in the apartment, but she has to know to some extent that like Vane's tricking her. Like, why would you say that?
I know, it's weird. Well, what I thought was interesting, and this might have been me reading too closely because I feel like now that I'm like writing again, I'm seeing more words. It's the trust in any pack. So it almost implies, and I might be reading too far into this, but it almost implies like we can't trust you versus you can't trust any pack. Like you won't trust us.
Right.
And it's like a really tiny word, but it does change the meaning a little bit. And it's a weird thing to say either way.
Yeah, I hadn't read it the way that you just said, but I really like that. Like it's
right?
It could be interpreted, and like I did, like she's saying that Mildred has trust issues, but yeah, I like it better where she's saying like I can't trust you.
Yeah, like why would you not want to help me figure this out if you were one of us?
Yeah. So a couple days go by, and then Mildred follows Meadow into the woods near the castle, and they're essentially playing hide and go seek. Like, Meadow is trying to, like, find a dead hare or something, and, like, runs off from Mildred. And so Mildred goes after her. She doesn't find Meadow immediately, but Attican finds Meadow and then finds Mildred. And so Attican is holding Meadow by the scruff of the neck and says, quote, "Hello, Dread, time to go."
It gave me the same vibes as when Rhysand shows up to, like, take Feyre away from the wedding.
Yes.
Or whenever it is. And, like, honestly, it hit really hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, like, this is why I wish, like, the what was he doing, like, while she was gone hit a little bit harder, because it's very clear that, like, he is actively searching. He didn't just end up near the palace, right? Like, this was not by chance that this happened.
Why he would even, like, assume she was there. Yeah. Like, and that he cares, right? I don't know if this will come up in the notes, so I do want to flag it here because it was something that bothered me. And maybe it'll come up. I haven't read the notes. But there's this weird thing. Like, he's holding Meadow. And there's this weird thing where, like, she's not allowed to be with Meadow. And, like, no one will tell her where Meadow is for a while. And I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. And I didn't understand it from Meadow's perspective. It was like Meadow didn't want to be with Mildred.
But I thought they were bonded, and that's, like, a thing. But then she'd even ask, like, where Meadow is, and, like, everyone, like, deflects the question. So, like, What is the deal with Meadow? Unless I think Meadow was a spy, but I'm like, Meadow's like a cat, okay?
Yeah, last I checked, you can't actually speak. Yeah, I thought that was weird, too. I don't think I put it in my notes, but, like, it's immediately after she goes back, and everybody's just, like, keep away with Meadow, and then Meadow only shows up, like, a handful of other times. I'm like, it was just weird.
Yeah, I was like, then why did you even introduce this thing?
Right. So we catch back up with Mildred in the Cloud Castle dungeon, which I thought was an interesting take. It makes sense.
Why is she in the dungeon?
We do get a good reason for it, but It was like, in the moment, I was like, really? You think that she wanted to be there? God damn it. This girl can't catch a break.
I know. Well, it was also really, and I thought this was a nice parallel, it was really reminiscent of the first chapter, when she's in a dungeon for, like, who the fuck knows why.
Right, just hiding out.
Yeah.
So Attican comes to visit her, and through the bars they have this conversation, which is basically a long exposition dump disguised as foreplay, which I'm not mad about.
No, it was good. It wasn't a terrible info dump because we learned some wild things here.
We learned some truly wild things, and I'm not even sure I got all of them because it was, like, kind of a bop, 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 but, like, I'll do my best.
Yeah, I'm still there's some things that I'm still trying to link together.
Right. So the first thing that we learn is about the feather bone. It's an unseelie heirloom that collects, quote, morsels of soul from each generation and can only be used by someone with unseelie blood, which means that Mildred's mother was unseelie, not seelie. Her father had lied. For 5 seconds, I was like, God damn it, they're all related.
I know, because I worried about that later too, when it kind of seems like they're all related again.
Right. But we don't
she's not the only unseelie in the room.
It just feels like we don't get a reason why her mother was unseelie.
No, or, like, why her father lied, or, like, why this matters.
Right. Like, it feels like a bit of a, I'm not going to say loose, but, like, not fully closed thread, because, like, honestly, I was like, oh my God, her mother is Callista. And then we don't really
That's
get
what I thought.
More exposition about her mother. And then Callista comes up again as somebody else's mother. I'm just going to say Attican's mother. And I'm like, shit, they're siblings.
The three of them are related.
All three of them. No, that's not what happens. This is just another random unseelie woman. Cool.
Weird.
Right. So this thing was supposed to take the user home being the Bonelands because they are unseelie. But because of the wards and the magic around it, rather than taking her to, like, a designated place that was specific to her mother's, like, heritage in the Bonelands, it rerouted her directly to the king. So straight to Vane's chambers. That's why she ended up where she was.
Which I did like that explanation. But again, for a second, I was like, Is that because he's related to her and now that's home?
Right. That's exactly. I had that same thought. I was like, maybe that's why he always felt more brotherly than anything else.
Yeah, because they didn't really have great chemistry.
Yeah. So then Attican says, quote, "You fractured the wards, Dread," which means that she started breaking the curse, just not all the way. And like Mildred has so many different feelings about this, and I do too, because he's basically confirming to her that like, you are my heart and you started falling for somebody else. Like I feel some type of way about that.
Yeah. Which, okay.
Right. And I'm a little surprised that Attican's not more mad.
For who we are told that he is in the first couple chapters, I'm surprised he doesn't have a more aggressive reaction to her,
Right.
like, starting to fall for someone else. His enemy, also.
Yeah. Like, he's still presented as being this very possessive kind of, like, alpha male, and that's fine, but, like, the way that he's possessive in the second half of the book feels a lot more understated than he was in the first part of the book.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is one of the ways that it feels understated, right? Like, he says this thing, and then he just leaves her there. He just walks away. And I'm like, there's no, like, seething. There's no, like, raised voices. There's no, like, physical reaction. Yeah, like...
Well, like, you put me in the dungeon, so we're not going to talk about this?
Right, exactly. So then her next visitor is Folly, so Phineas's sister, twin sister. They have a brief conversation. Folly, like, briefly admits that she loved a mortal man who's now dead, implying that she killed her, or she killed him because he was awful, like, betrayed her in some way. This never comes back. I thought it was a wild thing to drop in here.
And, like, for now, it's like, I'm going to break you out of this dungeon and also drop my own personal, like, lore on you for no reason. This man doesn't matter.
Right. So, like, this guy doesn't matter. And it's basically just Folly, like, trying to commiserate with Mildred. But it's like not the same thing.
Like, no, not at all. Like, Mildred didn't kill anybody. And no one's been awful to her. I mean, like, okay, Vane is a problem, but, like, not in the same way.
Yeah, not really in the same way. So that was just weird. But
it was
then,
so strange.
It's clear that Folly wants, like, more information about the Bone Lands, and so Mildred is like, okay, I'll throw you a bone. Like, she just starts describing, like, the castle and, like, the landscape in very, very specific details so that Folly can draw it. And Folly is perfectly happy to just sit there and draw, like, based on what Mildred is saying. And so, in return, Mildred asks if Folly will let her out. And Folly does. She's like, you didn't need to bribe me to do that. I was going to come down here to let you out anyway.
Which, like, I don't know why she's there in the first place, because we'll get to it, but even later, Attican, like, never intended to leave her in there.
Right.
So weird. Also, like, just real quick, from Mildred's perspective, this woman has come to free her from the dungeon that she's put into. Where does she go when she's free? To Attican's fucking bathroom? The man who put you in the dungeon?
Right. And that's why I'm saying, like,
Girl, what?
her respawn point is a fucking bedroom. Like, I wish that she had more things that were, like, properly hers.
Bedrooms. I know. It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
That's why, like, the grief thing, I get it. Like, your dad was murdered, like, brutally. I get it. That's really tough. But, like, you act like this on a regular basis, girl. Like, you don't have a whole lot happening in your life.
No, she doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So she, like you said, she goes back to Attican's room and she decides to take a bath. She does some snooping first. She grabs a dagger for whatever reason. I'm like, yeah, how's that going to work for you? And she finds that scarf that he had used to, like, clean up her virginity blood or whatever.
Ooh.
Ooh. And then she takes a bath, and that's where Attican finds her. And he says, quote, "I believe we've been here before, Dread."
Yep.
So out of the bath, things get really hot and heavy, like, almost immediately, which I loved because I'm glad that they're not doing the will they won't they thing again.
I know, but just to go back to earlier, why did you put her in the dungeon if you were just gonna, like, fuck it out right here?
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad we get an answer to it, but it took a while for me to get there.
Yeah, like, this whole time I was like, okay.
Right. Yeah. So she straddles him with a dagger, trying to, like, show him that she's not gonna, take no for an answer, and that she's got power too. And he disarms her with insulting ease and is like, what was your plan here, girl? Like,
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? And she's basically like, look, I have information. I heard a lot of things while I was over there, and I'll tell you everything if you give me safety. She says, quote, fix the alliance, Attican. Make me your wife. And Attican, like, surprisingly doesn't say, no, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. He just starts asking, like, about what she and Vane did. So he can, quote, know which part of him, Vane, to mutilate first.
Which I did like this touch her and die little through line.
I did too, but I also thought it was a little bit understated, right? Because he's not even, he doesn't lead with that. He's like, what happened? Kind of coming in hot. He's very restrained almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super restrained. And I do wish we kind of got a little more payoff on that.
Right. I mean, I liked it. I'm not going to lie. Like, I have very little notes about this scene, but
it's nice.
Yeah.
I wanted payoff later with Vane.
I
Which we
wanted
do kind of get.
I wanted more of a direct conflict between the two of them, and I wanted a little bit more of a like territorial marking kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Which I guess we kind of get with the mating.
Yeah, I just wanted Vane to see it.
I wanted Vane to see it, not just smell it later.
Right. So anyway, they get hot and heavy. Attican's like, I will seal the deal. This is how we're going to seal the deal, right? We're going to get married in the Fey way. And so he cuts his wrist and cuts her wrist, and they exchange blood. Like, we get some full on, like, almost vampire adjacent, like, blood kink stuff.
I was really surprised by that, and I felt like it was so seamlessly woven in, where, like, the way they explain it and the way, like, Attican kind of goes about it is it's very Fey, but we get the, like, kinky vampire thing without them being vampires, and I was here for it.
I was so here for it, and it was, like, out of left field. Like, I knew, like, they were going to get into a scene. I didn't know we were going to get this scene, and it was so good.
Yeah, I was very happy to be here.
Yeah. So they do that thing, and it's ostensibly sealing the deal, like marrying them in the Fey way, and it acts like striking a match, because Mildred is incredibly horny. She feels like hot all over, and she asks him, quote, what have you done to me? And Attican doesn't give her an answer, but says, you know what? Let's take a minute here, because you must be hungry from, such a long journey and such a long time in the dungeons. And makes her go to dinner with everybody else in this state of mind.
Okay, like, consent is key, but I kind of liked this, that she didn't really understand what just happened.
Yeah, I liked it too. And I also liked that, like, Attican calls her out on it later. He's like, oh, you didn't know what was happening? Okay, yeah. Look, you're not an idiot. Like, you knew.
Yeah, like, you felt something. That's not a wedding.
That's not a wedding. Like, you're a smart girl. Come on, you knew what was happening.
Get your shit together.
Right. So the dinner scene is like a little bit of comedic relief. But, like, it's also just foreplay. Honestly, like,
yeah,
they're both feeling the effects of this bargain that they just entered into, and they're like both teasing each other and seeing which one will break first.
There's like this whole thing with the chicken and like a cream sauce, and I'm like, this is just go have sex about it, please.
Yeah, and everybody at the table is like, Jesus Christ, can you please? I want to eat.
Because they all know what's going on too.
Exactly, but they're just trying to have a meal, and Attican's like, nope, I'm having a great time.
This is super fun.
Mm-hmm. So Mildred makes good on her promise, and she says everything that she knows, right? She talks about the Pytherians, the warriors, like the baited eggs around the city, everything that she heard, talks about Lord Stone, and she says, quote, I felt not a shred of guilt.
Which, fuck yeah, girl.
Love it. After dinner, they chase each other to the bedroom, and then we have the consummation scene that lasts for like 2 chapters, and it
goes on and on.
Amazing. Like, it's
amazing.
It's one of those ones where they just can't stop fucking.
Yeah. And listen, that always makes the fated mate bond thing like better for me.
Yeah.
Because I like it.
Especially when you've had the payoff of like, oh, it's not like immediate, like instant intimacy, right?
They've known each other for like literal years.
Yeah. Swan Princess over here. So
Yeah.
they're not fully sated, but they've done it a couple of rounds and they get interrupted by a knock at the door and Attican knows that he has to go. So as he's walking away, Mildred asks, quote, what really happened? And Attican tells her, without even really fully turning around, he's like at the door. He just kind of says over his shoulder, quote, we mated. And the scream I screamed.
I know. It was so sassy and so hot.
It was so hot. Oh my God.
It was so good.
Yeah, and this is where it was confirmed for me that I was like, he fell first and fell hard. I know it.
Oh, yeah.
He's
been waiting for this moment for like 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it made it so good.
So good.
So now we have to do like actual plot stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess.
We pivot to Mildred and a bunch of the other assholes like going through Cloudfall City hunting for eggs, right? So they're trying to prevent this future where a bunch of Pytherians descend upon the town, irate that their babies have been stolen and setting it on fire. They essentially split up. Phineas and Elian go together and Folly and Mildred go together and they search different places to kind of cover more ground. Before they do that, specifically Elian calls out that like Mildred smells different now and like is he the only one that notices that? And Phineas says something to the effect of like, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to know that they mated. Like everybody smells it, dude. Trying to
It's super distracting to all of us.
Right.
We don't have to talk about it, okay?
We really don't have to talk about it. So as Folly and Mildred are searching, we get a little bit more of her backstory. We learned that Phineas and Folly's father vanished 15 years ago on his way to meet Garen. So after that happened, Garen took them in his ward, specifically to drain their fortune for his war. Folly says, quote, Garen's coffers were nearly drained by a certain someone not long before our father's disappearance. So she's implying that Garen killed her father for money to fund his war and then has just been manipulating them at will, basically, ever since.
Gross.
Yeah. So they're kind of striking out about the eggs, but then Mildred like cuts herself on something and realizes that rather than the blood like falling on the ground like it would for a normal person, it actually beads up into the air and like leads her to one of the Pytherian eggs, which is weird.
It was super weird.
I had a thought here that maybe it was because she had exchanged blood with Attican because she doesn't have magic. I was like, where is this coming from?
I know. It's made really clear that like she is a halfling, but she has no magic. That's doubled down a lot. And like we kind of get we do get an answer for it, but it was. I feel like it would have landed a little bit more smoothly if she had a little bit of magic.
Yeah, and it's implied in this book that the only people who have magic are nobles, but we don't know really anything about her mother, so I was a little bit surprised that she doesn't have any magic at all.
I know.
Anyway, she's like, that's weird. But we found an egg, so
Handy.
like there's that.
Like it's helpful, I guess.
Yeah. So she takes the egg back to their rooms, not really sure like what to do with it. She's going to give it to Attican. That's her plan. But when she gets to, I guess, their room, she doesn't find Attican, and instead she finds Garen. And this is when it really becomes clear that Garen hasn't been at the castle, like since she's been back. He was gone. Garen right now is holding that bloodstained scarf, and Mildred knows immediately that this is bad news bears for her.
Yep.
Garen has clearly worked out that they are mated. He says, quote, the scent of a freshly forged mating bond, plus, quote, the fucking reek of it all over this chamber.
Well, get out of my bedroom, bro. You don't have to smell it.
Nobody invited you in here, buddy.
Yeah.
He reveals that he's there to kill her and return her body to her sister with a, quote, sorrowful apology. Mildred's like, great, cool, awesome. Just, we should talk about stuff. And she's trying to stall. She's actively trying to use whatever mind meld thing that she's got with Attican to like let him know that his daddy's there. And it does work.
And it's going to kill her.
Right.
Yeah.
Attican like hears her and asks what's wrong. And she says, your father's in the room. Like, I need your help. And he's like, great, just keep talking. I'm on my way.
On the way.
Great. So Mildred is trying to stall. Garen at some point realizes that, and he like makes his move. He tries to put her on the bed and like stab her essentially. And it's very like old bad 80s movie choreographed, because like they're on the bed, they're off the bed, they're on the bed, they're off the bed in like the same
position. She like
position.
hits him with the egg. It's like very weird.
It's like very
like behind her, just like yeet.
Yeah, and they're like fighting over the knife. I'm like, he's literally bigger than you and a fae. Like, why is this happening?
It has magic. Yeah, I don't.
Right.
It was bad choreography.
This is when, so we haven't really called it out before or since we talked about it, but this is when Meadow shows up again, because Meadow's been basically MIA since she's been back, and people have been like cagey about where Meadow is, and Meadow's been kind of a turncoat, it seems like. But Meadow does show up and try to get Garen off of Mildred with very limited success, unfortunately.
Well, she's just a little cat.
Just does a little baby. So
she tries.
Just when it looks very bleak for Mildred, Attican shows up, and he doesn't even have to like physically assault his father. He's just like, you need to come talk with me in the hallway. And I think it's really interesting.
Get the fuck off my wife.
Get the fuck out of my wife.
Let me.
I think it's interesting that Garen just does that.
I know. I thought that was interesting too.
But I liked it. Like, I think this was a good show of Attican's power over Garen and how much Garen is actually really afraid of his son. But like we've been saying, it does feel very understated for who we have been told Attican is.
Yeah. And on one hand, I do like how understated it is. I just feel like a lot of the things here at the end could hit a lot harder.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, Garen follows him out. Mildred's in the bedroom, but she can still hear them talking outside. And she hears Garen ask Attican, quote, why would you marry a halfling? And the only answer that Attican gives is, quote, since I'm the new king, basically I'm going to do what I fucking want. And then Mildred just hears a thud. And when she opens the door, she sees Attican has pulled Garen's heart out of his armored chest, killing him. Killing him dead.
Just like, I'm the new king. Yoink.
So fucking metal. I did not see that coming, but I love that. And even Mildred asked the question in my mind. I'm like, how the fuck did you do that? And Mildred's like, how the fuck did you do that? What is happening?
I know Attican's like, don't worry about it.
Shh. He literally like draws a bloody like finger over her mouth, and it's just like, shh.
It's like, it'll be our secret.
It'll be our secret.
Okay.
Cool. So in the midst of this, Attican shares that Callista is his mother, and that Garen didn't actually kill her. He faked her death and then helped her flee the continent. Quote, in return for her freedom, she had agreed to leave me behind. So Callista left and never looked back. Which is...
So Attican is also unseelie.
Yes. So everybody in this fucking book is unseelie. And this is where I thought, oh, fuck, they're siblings. They're not siblings, but it was still a little bit like Scooby-Doo. Okay, everybody has a secret unseelie mother.
I know. Well, and also, like, this whole Seelie court is just being run by the unseelie, and it just... Fine, but the only way that immediately made sense in my mind is if they were all related, and I'm very glad they're not, but I don't know why they all have to be unseelie.
Right. And the other thing that I kind of, like, only realize in retrospect is, like, yeah, of course he's, like, Callista's son, because Garen didn't have, like, a paramour outside of that. And, like,
yeah.
What's her face? Corden or whatever.
Cordenia.
Yeah, Cordenia was after, right? So, like, if there was nobody before, like, who else would it be?
I know. And this was a big reveal to me. I didn't see this coming.
Same.
But in retrospect, like, it was really obvious. Like, he didn't exist before Callista, and no other mother existed after Callista.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's only one mother, if it looks like a Callista, talks like a Callista, it's probably Callista.
It's probably a Callista.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot happening. There was also this thing that, like, we don't get like we don't spend a lot of time on it, but because Vane's dad was killed the same way that Garen was killed, it's implied that Anakin killed them both.
Yeah, which that is so subtle in here that like I don't even think we get confirmation, but that's what I think happened.
I think so too. And I think the reason that he killed the other king is because of the way he treated his mother. And I think that's partially why he killed Garen, along with the fact that he was being a royal dick to everybody on the planet.
Yeah, and just a generally bad king.
Right. So, basically Anakin's like, you get some sleep. I gotta hide this and figure out how we're gonna make this look like I didn't just kill my father. So
don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone.
Good night.
And this is where we kind of get it gets implied that the reason that she was in the dungeon when she first came back was so that Garen didn't find out that she was back at all until he left.
Yeah. Which, cool. And I'm glad that we got an explanation of that.
Yeah, but also you're just kicking the can down the road very clearly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we get a brief break from the politics and the war of it all for a wedding. Anakin is actually marrying Mildred, and it's like within the next couple of days. It's so soon, in fact, that there wasn't a whole lot of time for her sister Bernie to attend because Bernie's super fucking pregnant. So the only person from her side of the family that does attend is Royce, Bernie's husband. He's there to witness essentially the alliance that they all agreed to being fulfilled.
Which is cute. I like Royce. He's such like a nothing burger.
I know.
I like him.
I like it too. So they do the wedding. It's fine. But Mildred feels some type of way about it. She asks Anakin afterwards how he feels, and he says, quote, "victorious is what I feel." And she like essentially runs away from that comment.
Yeah, she didn't like that at all.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because she is too stuck on like the game and like that she doesn't like that he won, but I'm like, girl, you got exactly what you wanted. You both won, I guess.
Yeah, like you demanded that he marry you. He's also your mate. Like, I don't know what else you expected.
Right. Regardless, her miffing or miffery.
Miffery.
Her being
Miffiness.
miffed. Her miffed attitude doesn't last very long because they go on another egg hunt. And this one is around the palace in the palace grounds, trying to look for those eggs. And she goes with Folly. They get separated. And Anakin finds her in the woods. And they have a cute little scene in the woods, which is amazing.
It is amazing. She even like calls it out. This book is very self-aware in a way I really appreciate. Because Mildred even says, like, I don't think we should consummate our marriage in the forest. And he's like,
who cares?
Why?
Why not? Give me a good reason.
We're going to do it anyway. We've already had sex, so.
Right. So this scene is great. I mean, despite the fact that I'm not like a do it on the forest floor kind of girly.
No.
No notes.
No, it's really nice.
We also get some interesting information in that. So we get a reveal about why her blood leads her to Pytharians, because she shares that information with Anakin, and it's because she has unseelie blood. Blood, he says, quote, "blood binds all." And so he kind of implies that any unseelie can do this magic trick, which makes it feel less special, but also I've never seen anybody else do it. So,
well, and also why wasn't he doing it to find the eggs?
Right.
Because I guess maybe no one can know he's unseelie because he's head of the Seelie court.
Yeah.
Politics.
I mean, I think it's probably more to do with the fact that Anakin is who he is and she's his mate. But the way that he said it was like, oh, it's just an unseelie thing. I'm like, okay.
Like, just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. During the scene, Anakin tells her that she's beautiful for the first time ever, which sounds bad on the surface, but for me, it's nice. The revealing that he loves her.
Yeah, that they're not enemies and they never were.
Right. It was all an act. He also reveals that he's a little nervous because he says, quote, "you cannot love him." Like he's still thinking about her potentially pining after Vane.
His brother?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, brother, half brother at least.
Half brother, just to like add that little twist to it.
Yeah, which they never really talk about at length.
No, honestly, a couple times I had to be like, right? Yeah,
Right, guys?
right?
And then we get the...
It's sweet.
I know, because he also goes on to say, quote, "I want you, Mildred, always and incessantly. I've fucking wanted you." Unfortunately, this scene ends on a bit of a bittersweet note because it's clear that Attican knows that something's going to happen, and so he tells her that when they come, that she needs to get to the dungeons. Everybody needs to get to the dungeons, like underground. And she's like, okay, cool, like in the future. And it's clear that he means like right now.
Like, no, I need you to go immediately.
Right. And so Mildred
coming.
reluctantly goes back to the castle to gather everybody else and go into the dungeons while Attican does something else.
King stuff.
So she meets Folly, and Folly is like, yeah, I know we have to get to the dungeons, but you need to see something first. Like, come with me. I need you to, you just need to see this. So they get to a balcony where they can see essentially like the courtyard of the castle. And in that courtyard, they see Attican walking down the driveway, stark naked. And he stops and turns into a motherfucking Pytherian.
I did not see this coming at all.
Never in my life. Like, if this was nowhere near my bingo card.
No, well, because like Vane has the wings, and he's like, I would think if anyone would shift, it would be Vane, and like I get the bloodline, but then I didn't connect the bloodline. Mm-hmm. And this book does like these reveals are all so well done because I was like, excuse me, he's a what?
He's a what now? Yeah, no, totally. I didn't see it coming. I loved every minute of it. Like I have questions at the end of this book, but there are no questions around the big plot point things. Like. Very well handled.
Which is impressive because there's some crazy twists in here.
Crazy. So Folly goes on to say, quote, his mother was the Unseelie queen and her grandfather the last Pytherian king. So essentially, Attican is the true Unseelie heir who has spent his entire life masquerading as a Seelie prince. And because a noble who can shift is the alpha of that species, he can simply just take the army that Vane has spent decades breeding and like use them against Vane, which is so fucking metal.
It's so metal, and it's so fun because it's not said explicitly, but I can only imagine how satisfying that would be to like watch your half brother make this army thinking that he's gonna like destroy you, and you're just like, no, that's my army, but you can raise it.
Yeah, go for it, no problem. Not concerned about it at all. Which goes back to like, I mean, Mildred was like raising the alarm bell and like, this is going to happen. Like, we don't stand a chance. And Attican was so nonchalant. And she's like, I need you to be a lot more chalant about this, my guy. And he's like, don't worry. It's fine. I got it.
I promise you don't have to worry about the Pytherians.
Right. So Attican is essentially summoning the Pytherians. Like, yes, Vane has started his assault. But what he doesn't know is that the guys riding these Pytherians are now totally fucked, right? As they start showing up in the courtyard, the Pytherians start eviscerating the riders that are from Vane's army.
Which has to be so shocking to be like, what the fuck is happening?
Exactly. So Folly, in conversation with Folly, we come to learn that Cordelia, who is Garen's consort, knew because she practically raised Attican, right? She was his de facto mother, which I didn't realize when we first met her.
I didn't either. It seemed like, and I didn't give it any thoughts, but it seemed like Cordelia came like once Attican was already an adult, or they never really had any interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it sounds like she showed up pretty soon after he was born, at least.
Yeah, and then they did have a close relationship that wasn't really well seated.
Yeah, because they like barely interact, but that's being nitpicky. So Cordelia knew, and then Folly also knew because she caught Attican once when he was younger, naked, bloody, and hunting for his clothes, which I think is really interesting.
It's so interesting.
So Phineas is one of the only ones that doesn't know in like their small inner circle, and he's about to find out with everybody else. So what's interesting about this is Mildred has had this inferiority complex because she's a half-breed, right? She's half mortal, half fae. But she realizes in this moment that Anakin is also a half-breed. He's part Seelie, part unseelie. She says, quote, "He didn't have mortal blood, but he was still just a halfling, just like me."
Oh. Oh, it's cute.
So Anakin is dealing with the Pytherian invasion, right? But Vane is making a different play. He comes to the back of the courtyard, and for some reason, Mildred is there. She sees him. She also sees that, unfortunately, he has Meadow and is using Meadow as bait again. So she goes out to the courtyard. They have a conversation. He says, quote, "I just need your husband to die," and threatens her friends who are coming after her, right? So Folly and Phineas are kind of calling after Mildred, not understanding why she's not getting to the dungeons with everybody else. And he's like, "You want them to die? Totally fine. Or you could just come with me." And so Mildred just goes with Vane. Awesome. This was a little weak for me. I feel like Mildred did it a little bit for the plot.
I also think she did it for the plot because the threat wasn't strong enough. Like, her friends would have been fine. Everyone would have been fine.
Right. And also,
she's kind of like, let's see where this goes.
She's a little bit like, let's see where this goes. But she's also kind of justifying it to herself. She's like, maybe I can convince him to like pull back and like stop the fighting. And I'm like, sure, girl. But like, don't tell me it's not a little bit to stir the pot.
It's totally stir the pot. And like, the fight's basically over. There's really not any fight now.
Right. Yeah.
Now that you know who your husband is.
Now that you know who her husband is. And like, Vane is like the only one who doesn't see that, and I don't get it. He turns immediately into an idiot.
I know, which was a little frustrating. And this is where I felt like, I mean, we're getting to the end, but this is where I felt like it was a little anticlimactic because Vane just ceases to have a thought in his brain.
Right. Beyond like, I have to win, and this is like, that's my only purpose
I just
in life.
need your husband to die. Like,
right.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
cool.
what, bro?
So, evidence of the fact that this fight is basically over. He takes her to a village where like the rest of his forces are essentially hiding out. It's clear that Vane knows about the mating bond. He says, quote, "You reek of him, not just in the usual post-coital way." He threatens her, pressing a knife to her throat, draws blood, but can't make himself finish her off because I think his thought process is like, kill her, kill Anakin. That wasn't very clear to me though.
That wasn't clear to me either, and I also don't really understand why he can't finish her off. Like, does he have feelings? I didn't think he did. Not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I mean, it's certainly not for her, right? So like,
yeah, not enough to like not be able to kill her. If that in his mind is the only thing that'll work.
Right. The thing that he says to Mildred though to try to get like her on his side is that he essentially says that Anakin is becoming untouchable because he is the king of the Seelie and he is now the alpha of the Pytherians, and technically he could take the unseelie throne too if he kills Vane. He tells her, quote, "You need to help us end him or we all lose this war."
But I don't understand why that's a problem for her.
I don't either, because she's on the winning side. She's mated to the guy that's going to win.
Right. So like, you say we will all lose the war. I'm not losing anything. I'm fine. I get 2 kingdoms.
There's also like a little bit of like undercurrent in this conversation where Vane is asking forgiveness, but he just doesn't want to like say it out loud. And it's clear that like he's still not bought in on actually wanting Mildred. Like he's almost acting in ways that he doesn't quite understand himself. And Mildred's just like, girl, it's like way too late.
Yeah, like you betrayed me in so many ways. And also, what are you trying to apologize for? Like, which part? Brutally murdering my father or
manipulating me
or kidnapping me? Like, what are we really talking about?
Yeah, and
trying to kill me 20 seconds ago?
She effectively says something like that. She's like, you're not doing yourself any favors, right? Like you're actively making it worse. You need to let me go.
Yeah, you're not helping anything.
Right. So Mildred reaches out to Anakin through the bond, tells him where she is, warns him that they're armed with iron bolts, and is basically like, "See you soon, honey," right?
I like that we have this love triangle and we're sold on it, but like, really, Vane was never a problem. She's like, "I had feelings, they're gone now."
I had feelings, they're gone now. Yeah, I think It's interesting in how this book is ended because it is implied that maybe Vane's affection for Mildred is a little bit more of a slower burn. Like he was already committed to the path of manipulating her and like getting what he wanted, and then is realizing, oh shit, I might actually love this person.
Yeah, like I can't kill her for some reason.
Right. And I think it's interesting, like the line that we said earlier about him waiting for like a fated mate that hasn't shown up yet. It would be like, if this was not a standalone, if there was a book 2, it would be interesting to explore, like, is she fated mates to both of them?
Oh,
And like
I would read that.
Bane is slowly realizing that the thing that he's been waiting for, he was too blinded by his own like machinations and like ambition to see it.
Yes. And now it's too late. Because like, can you be mated to 2 people?
Why choose? Anyway. So Mildred and everybody else knows when Anakin has arrived because he lands in his dragon form and it feels like there's an earthquake, which is unfortunate because they're in tunnels underground.
Oops.
Right. So he's essentially trying to collapse the tunnels in a way that forces them out in a very specific place. They end up going out of the tunnels into this field where Anakin is, and it's ringed in fire. There are dismembered warriors everywhere. There are iron bolts the size of Mildred being fired by like flying warrior things. And
crazy.
All of these things are just essentially like bouncing off of Anakin's scales. And he's just like standing in the middle of the field waiting for Mildred.
Just like chilling. Like,
right.
I would like my wife, please.
Like, your Uber's here, girl. It's time to go.
Your Uber's here.
So Anakin hasn't shown up empty-handed. He throws Garen's severed head toward Bane. And there's a note attached to it that says, quote, claim your victory and retreat. And Mildred realizes that she's just become queen, 1, and 2, this is an opportunity for Vane to like claim a victory and retreat with dignity, right? And not totally like lose face with his people.
Yeah, which I forgot about that bargain.
Right. Well, I forgot about that bargain too, and she did too until just this moment. But Vane promised to give her something when he invaded the Seelie realm.
Anything.
Right. And what she wants is for him to take his people home and live a life. Leave them the fuck alone. Like, lose my number. Stop being so obsessed with me.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
Why are you so obsessed with me? No, really. They have this conversation. It's clear that Vane doesn't want her to ask this thing of her. She's trying to convince him to like take the win and leave, right? Take Garen's head home on a pike and like leave it at that. You're not going to win this war. Like, you're not going to kill
Enjoy
Anakin.
Your life.
Right. In the process of this, she gets hit by what sounds like friendly fire. Like, she gets hit by an arrow in the side mid-argument.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was crazy. And it serves to like, it's an interesting choice because it serves to end the conversation and like force the conversation forward, because it was clear to me that Vane and her were at an impasse. He wasn't going to say yes, and she wasn't going to outright like ask for the thing yet.
Yeah.
So that was fine. Vane catches her. He tries to vanish them both to safety, but she pushes free of his arms at the last minute and rolls back toward Anakin. It's a clear choice, and the book like lets us sit with this clear choice. Like, Mildred was kind of entertaining. Like, I did have feelings for you at one time. Like, you're trying to apologize for me, but you're still being kind of a dick. And in the moment when it mattered, she's not torn. She's like decided with her full chest, which I liked.
I liked that too. And I liked that, especially with this being a standalone, that it doesn't leave those threads open. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be fine. But that it's like, nope, like the love triangle's over. This is where we are.
We're done. Yeah. I also thought it was kind of a dick move for Vane to vanish or like teleport and just leave all of his people there. Like, bye.
Right? Like, way to pull a Kyla. What was her name? Yeah, Kyla.
Yeah, Kyla. Jesus. Bitch. Speaking of pulling a Kyla, everything's fine. The war is over. They're not at odds anymore.
Okay. And that's where I was like, it was barely even a battle. You've been at war for who knows how long.
Yeah.
And you had like, Heath chose him as a dragon and it's like the war's over, which is fair, but what?
Yep.
Not even like a peace treaty conversation, like anything. Is he just still gonna plot?
We do get one line of a fixer that like Anakin had a treaty like ready to go and like Vane did eventually sign it, but like that's it. Like that's it. Everything's fine. Everybody's at peace. Nobody has any more ambition that's gonna like fuck shit up. Okay, cool.
Like, yeah, okay, sure.
Okay. We get this interaction between Attican and Mildred because they've got some stuff to say on their chest. And so they're alone in the throne room and they're talking. Attican essentially says that he acted the way that he did for survival. He never wanted to rule both kingdoms. He wanted to be free, and freedom meant that his birthright, the throne and the army, under his own control, so he could be free from being his father's pawn. He says, quote, "I loathed you while I loved you, as it was the only way to get what I needed." He confesses that he felt the bond the night that she poisoned him, and despite knowing that he was supposed to let her run to Vane so that she'd break the wards, the moment that was supposed to happen when she was first in the woods, he realized that he couldn't go through with it. He says, quote, "I knew then that I would rather remain trapped for eternity than let anyone think you're theirs."
Oh.
He goes on to say, quote, "You're still mine, Dread. Now you will forever be just mine." Privately, Mildred admits that she's been in love with him probably always, and then she leaves him with his crown anyway and says, quote, "Congratulations, King." I didn't fully understand this move, and I had to have it explained to me by like the next epilogue chapters, but she's just not quite ready to put her armor down and stop living this like survival life that she's known her entire life.
I didn't understand that either. And it makes sense, and I appreciate that it was explained, because at first I was like, why are you being such a bitch?
Right. But I also get
Like,
it
what?
like in hindsight and having reflected on the book after finishing it, like it would be hard for me to take that confession at face value too. Like you've been this person that I know you to be, and now you're saying that that's all an act and you can just be like a loving husband to me. What are you talking about?
And like, again, don't forget, we've known each other mostly our whole lives. Like, I know who you are, or I thought I knew who you were. So that's fair. And they've been playing the game for so long, so I don't want to let the game up either.
Right. And as she confessed to Vane, she kind of likes the game.
Yeah. So I think there's some of that in there too to work through.
So in the next couple of chapters, we get kind of a hard exit. Mildred has like fled.
I hated this. Okay.
Mildred has fled the
hated
kingdom and gone to be with her sister and her new niece, I think.
Which, like, okay, again, going back to what we were talking about, I get that you have to reconcile that confession, but this seems like so dramatic.
It's a little bit dramatic, and it is. She even admits, like, at the end of this chapter that it is a test to see if he really is that person. And I'm like, I kind of get it, but I'm like, I didn't really want to see it. Like, I could have skipped to the epilogue personally.
I didn't need it, because it was also weird being, I think it's like the last two chapters of the book, and I'm like, I'm already bought in on their love story. I don't need this, like, I'm gonna flee at the last moment so you could prove yourself to me. Like, okay, girl.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
So crucially in this time, Mildred's drinking basically a specific type of tea that will block their mental connection. And it's something that is a known thing because mates who are or fated mates who don't want to be with each other want privacy from that person that they are bound to. Awkward.
Which I liked that little one-liner that, because we get that in ACOTAR, but like, just because you're fated mates doesn't mean you like each other.
Right, exactly. So they spend time, they do, when the tea is worn off, they do spend time kind of communicating mentally with each other. And at some point, Attican does show up to retrieve his wife, which I love. I love the "I'm here for my wife" thing. Like, oh,
I loved that too.
And
again, we see Royce again as just like, is this okay?
Should I be concerned?
Her go with him? Yeah. I don't know.
There's also this adorable scene with Attican and the newborn, and Attican doesn't know what to do with the newborn, especially because the newborn like shits while Attican's holding them. Anyway, when Attican finds Mildred's under a tree, and basically they confess their love for each other like in those explicit words. Attican says that he's been a villain for so long, but, quote, "that doesn't mean I cannot love you. That doesn't mean I don't need you to be as obsessively in love with me as I am with you." And then they say the "I love yous" to each other. But Attican realizes that Mildred needs some of this game. And so at the end, he says, quote, disappointed, basically reinitiating that like tete-a-tete that they had going on.
Which I appreciated too, because that can't just totally change.
I know. It's like how they interact with each other. And like that was part of what Mildred was afraid of, right? Like she's not afraid of Attican. She's not afraid of like being loved. She just doesn't know how and still wants to retain the parts of that life that excited her.
Well, and to be fair, like that's the person you fell in love with. So you can't just now be a new person and think that we can have a healthy relationship.
Right. That's going to take some getting used to. It's built on.
Yeah.
So we do get a bit of an epilogue, and that jumps 20 years into the future. The Pytherians that are now under Attican's reign live in the Sky Mountains, which are part of the Cloud Kingdom, the Unseelie Kingdom. Cool. Attican is in his dragon form, and Mildred and their daughter are up there with the Pytherians. And this is really cute because their daughter Lumina is 4 years old and is feeding wildflowers to Attican in Pytherian form, despite the fact that these give him like a heinously upset stomach when he shifts back into a person.
It was so cute.
Yeah. We learned that Dahlia has like extended an olive branch at some point too. She's sent Mildred books. Like they've been exchanging books back and forth, like essentially doing a book club. And Mildred like recognized the book for what it was. Like she sees this as like trying to build a bridge between the two kingdoms, and she accepted it and is like letting it happen. Also, as they're sitting there, she sees a shadow like implied that it's one of Vane's shadows, just like saying hi, and she waves back, essentially.
Which I also thought was kind of cute.
Yeah. Which I think opens the door to like, could there be just a little bit of romance there?
I think so. I mean, there's definitely affection there.
Yes.
That didn't end.
Yes. So that's where the book ends. And so like I had a really good time in this book, and I did not see the end coming. There were just a couple of things where I was like the Lord Stone, it's a double agent thing, like that literally never came back.
I know, and that was kind of a bummer because like where was he in the end? Even a one-liner of like he delivered the peace treaty or whatever.
Right. And the whole like Callista's still alive thing, like
where is she? Do you care?
Is she going to come back now that both of these assholes are dead? Like, can she just be with her sons?
Right. And does she want to? Because Attican makes it sound like she left and never looked back, but like she wasn't really given a choice.
Right. She literally didn't have any other choice. So anyway, let's get into our ratings.
Oh yes. Maybe one day we'll disagree. Whatever.
We did disagree once, and then but the thing
That's
about
true.
when we disagree is that like I mean, I think the most recent time last is that you convinced me to change my score, or vice versa. Like we'd
that's true.
Stay at odds.
That's true. Which I mean, that's why we're here.
I think that's why we're truly friends. Anyway.
Yeah.
So girl, how do we rate the spice?
We rated it at a 4. The spice is really good in this book. It starts off pretty early. It's super believable. We get like the intimacy. We get the surprising vampire-esque blood play that neither of us saw coming.
Yeah, girl.
This might sound bad, but what would have made it a 5 for me is one, more diversity because it's still pretty vanilla, but also if she had like an actual scene with Vane, even if it wasn't like fully penetration, I wanted like more with Vane.
Yeah, or like yeah, I was gonna yes and you and then say the exact same thing. I totally agree.
I think I do that to you all the time. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Let me reiterate what you just said as if it's an entirely new idea.
Or she, he peating each other. Or she peating? She peating. There we go. That's fine.
She, he peating.
She, he peating. Yeah, so that brings us to writing style. We both rated it a 3. There were just, despite the fact that I had a great time, there were some ways in which this book was written that made it difficult to read sometimes. Like I would just trip over the sentence. Or like,
yeah,
the participles were in places that I wasn't expecting, and so like I would have to go, wait, what? Let me just run that back one more time. And even you probably heard it when I was saying some of the quotes, like just the way that they're written is a little clunky.
Yeah, they're a little strange. And I pulled one out that I didn't say, but one that tripped me up is, and maybe it was just me, but it's like when they're preparing for the picnic, she grabs the basket and her internal monologue is to darkness with it, which is not and I know it's like to hell with it, but like no one's referred to a quote unquote like hell or darkness. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that, it was like little things like that just strange wording and quotes.
Yeah, and it was like I raced through this book. I really enjoyed it, but there were times when I would be like going on a good path, and then I would get stuck on this one sentence for like 5 minutes and be like,
Yeah.
okay, I have to move on.
Because like I don't know what it's trying to say to me, so I gotta let it go.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's why we rated it a 3. I mean, everything else, like it's clear when we change perspectives, even in like one character's perspective, like when she would dream and be like seeing what Anakin is seeing, for example.
That was clear.
That was all super clear. I really appreciated that. The formatting of the book on Kindle is good. It wasn't like the blocks of text that you hate.
I hate that so much. Can't stand it.
So that all was fine. Moving into quality of storytelling, how do we rate that?
We also rated it a 4, and I almost want to give it like a 4.5 just because it has a lot of really surprising twists and reveals. It's okay, but that was going to be a lie. I was going to say I'm rarely surprised by twists, because that's not true. I often don't know until I'm told. But like this one just I was like, I don't know who I'm pretending to be. I never know.
You're so
it's not
pretty.
even a twist, and I'm like, wow.
Wow.
It's crazy. But this book handled like 4 or 5 twists that all made sense. They all fit in the plot. They didn't create plot holes. I think the only thing that made it not a 5 is it gets a little Scooby-Doo at the end, like I'm over here and then I'm back over here and then I'm back over here and then I'm going to go to my sister's house for some fucking reason and then I'm going to come back. Like I didn't need that. There were a couple scenes that just I didn't need. The
Yeah.
weird like cheese making scene, I didn't need that.
Yeah.
The sandwich making, I mean.
Like, and there were some things that I think I wish were explored a little bit more. Like we called out the like Lord Stone thing. I think it's interesting, like the way that Vane betrayed her and then like seems to feel like differently at the end of the book. Like I couldn't tell if that was because he just didn't want to lose or if he was actually trying to feel something. So like that was, we could have dove into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the twists, what a twist. Those were all really good. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to call out was she's basically a cardboard box. Like she is a character, doesn't have a lot going on.
No, she doesn't do anything. You point out her respawn point is just a bedroom.
Right.
She just reads and looks out the window. And she has a pet that also kind of ceases to exist.
Right, which is so interesting because I would say that she has a good personality. Like she's sharp and she's witty and I enjoy reading about her. I just wish that she also like did other things.
Like anything else.
Right. So that brings us to, do we recommend it? Yes, we do.
Yes. It was such a pleasant surprise.
It really was. I really enjoyed this. And like, look, whether for right or for wrong, I'm always going to probably grade up when it's a standalone because I'm just so grateful that there's not 1,000 pages of this that we have to read to get to the end of the book.
Yeah, and then we can make it a 2-parter. It's not.
Right.
I mean, we got Silver Flame coming up, which I think is a 4-parter maybe.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, we've been reading ACOTAR for like a year at this point. So
yeah. Also, just this is the 8th ACOTAR book, not the next one that comes up, but the one after that is like 900 pages long.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we did it. Those are our thoughts on Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. Thank you as always for joining us on this journey. Let us know what you thought on the socials. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Goodreads at Spice Traders Pod. And if you like our podcast and want more, consider becoming a patron, where we release Patreon exclusive episodes on our off weeks. And if you really, really like us, drop us a review wherever you listen. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.